Hey guys, welcome to NIJ College Debates. This is Priyanka. We are sitting at Plenty Cafe here in Mumbai, and today we're going to talk about education and technology in classrooms. I'm here with.
My name is Isha Kapadia. I am a student of Government Law College, which is here in Churchgate, and I am in my first year. So I'm a 5-year LLB student.
Hi guys, I am Rajvi Gandhi. I am from Government Law College as well, and this is my first year as a law student in Law College.
And I am Rehan Engineer, also studying the 5-year law course at Government Law College in Mumbai.
Today we're talking about technology in classrooms, right? Now, the teacher-student ratio in India is pretty alarming. I think the ideal rate is one teacher per every 30 students or 35 students max. And India, the ratio on average, I guess, over the past few years has been 1 per 65 to 70, ranging on the year. So now we have a lot of government schemes in terms of education and bringing technology, mainly the digitization movement. So what are your thoughts on that as students yourself?
So currently, the digital learning. I mean, when I was a kid, there were no JIL modules and there were no computers and laptops which were allowed to us. We had computer labs and we had access to them, but we never had we never really surfed on those and did our projects in school. So everything was home based and everything was done by my mom on laptop. So basically, I didn't know how to work on a laptop. That's why my friends call me technologically challenged. Because I really don't know how to handle these things, because as a kid I was never given the access to these technological things. But currently, when I look at the scenario, and I have certain statistics right now, the digital learning after the Modi government has been extended to 2.5 lakh students all around India, and there have been 8,000 teachers who have been educated as to how are you supposed to use the technology, because the teachers are only the key towards how the children will be able to know things. And if the teachers are well prepared and if their pedagogy becomes a bit better, this is how children will understand things better, and everything will become everything will be done in a very fun manner, and the general trend of fun with learning with fun, will come into force.
I'm of the opinion that a teacher-student relationship is more than just a teacher teaching a student. I believe that a connection formed between a teacher and student is more important, because as a student myself and having gone to school, I've actually learned more. I'm a person who, let's say, learns more of discussing rather than just being taught something. And therefore, I feel an online course, you would lose the personal touch between it or an online technology introduced into teaching. I believe that you lose the personal touch which you'd gain when you actually, let's say, attend a school and meet a teacher one-on-one or in a class and have a discussion in class.
When we're looking at the rate, right? Let's look at the rate again, the ratio, 1 to 75 students, right? Do you feel that technology maybe at the introductory level is needed? And I also do agree that a teacher is integral to a class no matter how much technology there is, right? Especially now, at least now. I don't know about the future, but at least now. So my question is that when you say that, I think you had a great point about teachers being trained, and you had a statistic for that as well. So do you feel that technology, perhaps in this digitization movement and trend towards digitization, a lot of emphasis maybe should be placed on more teacher training rather than introducing technology? That is also important, but by and large, should there be more investment in training our teachers?
When you have technology, things become much more fun and they become much more exciting. So there are different elements that you can add. For example, I had this, there was this chapter, circulatory system, and there was, our sir was, he was blabbering, and this is the pulmonary artery, the pulmonary veins. But when we have the JIL module, but when we see it in the picture, and when the heart really pumps and we see those pulmonary arteries coming, those red and blue things, those things in our mind, makes us more interesting. And we are more interested. So basically, you said that the personal touch is lost. I really think that the teacher, if she is trained and if she takes help of these technological things, there will be a better relationship that will come into being between a teacher and a student.
So the follow-up is basically, should more investment be made in that direction as well, alongside with bringing more accessibility and technology to classrooms?
Investment to teacher training in India in itself is required, because the quality of education the people, let's say, of different stratas of society receive, it is being done, but it needs to be enhanced. And by increasing the funds, by on the grassroots level, probably taking our initiatives. Things are being done and things are moving to the right step, but it might be a little too, less too late, I feel.
Obviously, the bond between a student and a teacher is compulsory, but you get knowledge through a teacher. But teacher, if properly trained, can give you knowledge about the technology as well as about the particular subject. So, India should invest more on teacher training, because if the teacher is properly trained, I think she will also get a hang of what technology is. She will make students understand it better. Students will also make use of technology well, and it will give, it will be open to every student and teacher as well.
So I think that, I mean, everyone's going to agree that obviously we should introduce technology. So I think these points are pretty universal. Everyone's in agreement that there should be technology in classrooms, that teachers should be trained. Let's talk about the ways of implementation. Now, you made a very interesting point about grassroots level. There should be more initiatives taken. Can you elaborate a little more on what those initiatives should be, any one of you? At a grassroots level, when you're looking at teachers trying to implement, technology in their classrooms. Like tomorrow you guys will be teachers in some regard. Maybe if not professionally being a teacher, you will be teaching somebody, your child or your niece or your nephew or whoever. When you see yourself in that role, what types of things as an individual would you like to see? And now this digitization is a really, really good initiative, right? How would you like to see it grow? Now, is the government doing enough? I think everyone's in favor of digitization, but let's look at the ways on a grassroots level of how it can be implemented.
There, in 2K17, there were around 8.5 lakh Chromebooks which were sent to different schools at the rural level. So and the government is coming up and the government is tying up with many vidyalayas at these district level at these district level schools, so that they can reach out, because the government itself, I mean, because of the laid back attitude that the government has, it has to tie up with different people and different organizations altogether. The laid back attitude of the officials, of the people who are working at that particular level, not the center from where the orders come, but the people who are working for it, they have this there are delays in decision making. There are so many controversies over small things.
You feel that they should have a little bit, perhaps these people that are in charge of enforcing it should have a little bit more accountability.
Yes. They must, they must start having camps and orientations and, seminars. They must conduct seminars for all those who are educated and who have the means to provide these things to these.
Who should conduct seminars?
The government and these people who are working for the government.
Or local government?
The local government.
Should
The
conduct
the local government for their own district and for their own vicinity.
Okay.
So basically at a grassroots level, I think exposure is very important for people, because sometimes they might not be exposed to know how wide and big the world really is. So in the sense that I feel, let's say the internet or a computer can make a huge difference at a grassroots level. Like I could give an example of, let's say just hypothetically, a person who has computer knowledge and computer skills trying to get a job in a city like Bombay, in a proper firm or in a company as such, is much better or much higher qualified than a person who doesn't have those skills, because everything in this world now is digitized or oriented or internet oriented or anything with computerized. So I believe that introduction of, let's say, technology in the sense of computer skills, Excel, the use of Word, use of the internet, how do you Google things, how do you gain information, grasp information, collect them, like share it onwards. I think that's very important at a grassroots level.
In terms of implementation of, like, everyone should know basic Microsoft Office, right? Let's take like that for an example. When you're looking at that, there's a very big difference between implementing it in an urban area and implementing it in a rural area. So what are your thoughts on that?
See, according to me, illiteracy rate in rural area is much more higher than in urban area. So implementing schemes in rural area has become very important. Decision has to be quick. They need to create awareness about what it can do, how it can help, how you can be educated. So people over there don't stay unemployed. At least they educate themselves. They can come over here or go to any metropolitan city, get a job for themselves. Right. So education needs, it has to spread a lot of awareness about how they can implement schemes and how they can help people.
But
with
there are
these
already
schemes.
so many schemes implemented.
But they're not reaching out to those people.
Why do you feel that way?
Because if they've even tried reaching out to those people, people would have responded. People are not responding as much as was needed. It is you just said
Can
the
you give
ratio.
an example of that?
You just said the ratio is 1:65. In my school we were 40 students and there was just one class teacher, so I think the ratio was quite okay. But if you go to a rural area where there is a government school, there's one teacher teaching I think 4 subjects and 60 students in a class, which is not appropriate according to me, because teacher needs to give a personal attention to the student, which is required, which is not available to the students over there.
Gotcha. So let's talk a little bit about higher. Let's pivot a little bit into higher education, right? Now, I think there was a big push towards the IOEs. Everyone's aware about IOEs, right? Top 20 would get funding basically, and then IOEs is basically institutions of eminence. So they would get this tag of being an institute of eminence, and the benefit of, they could use those funds in the way that they wanted to use it. So now this has a lot of benefits, and it also has a lot of implications, right? Things that you need to watch out for. Now, if you give complete autonomy to a school, they can either do really good things with it or really bad things with it. But as a result of this initiative and this push by the Modi government, a lot of schools started fighting to be a part of those top 20, right? Like there were certain regulations that they had to meet, mandatory regulations, mandatory things and rules that they had to meet. So a lot of them started striving towards it because they were like, okay, if we don't make this batch, perhaps we can make the next batch. So our scheme, I mean, what do you feel about such a scheme for education, higher education in our country? What if we were to implement it in our elementary schools as well?
So again, in my opinion, the apportionment of funds in such a manner is not fruitful, I feel, because there are a lot of higher up education institutions within the country, or let's say if a state government was to do it within a state as well, and when you apportion it just only with 20 institutes, it isn't fair, and B, you're doing this for the student again. It's for the student. Higher education is for the student. So if you restrict funds which are then not able to be passed on, let's say, to the student for their benefit, then it makes no sense. Because
I would like to disagree with what my fellow mate had said. In India is a country where you don't have competition. If you don't have money, people won't work. So that's the reality that we are staying. That we are staying in a country where people have to be in competition, and there has to be some sort of inducing power that will make people work towards things. So if there is money and if there is competition and if they have to prove that they are best, this is how they will deliver proper material, proper things, and the basic element of teaching, the basic element of introducing this sort of scheme was to deliver to students and to make learning a better initiative, and to make India grow and burgeon as a good country for education. So this particular move that the government has taken is a really good move, because this will empower all those who had a laid back attitude and who were inefficient, that they didn't want to work and they were like, we will always do when we are told. But competition induces that spirit in us, so that we work without anyone pushing us.
I don't agree with what you say, because you're just saying that funds are being given to top 20 colleges, which is not correct. People who have such talent and who can do better are not given exposure, because only top 20 colleges are taken into consideration. People who cannot afford the top 20 colleges must be down somewhere.
So the top 20 included like mainly the IITs and the IIMs, and the Geo Institute as well was included in this. But it's, I think, in one aspect you're right, in that it does spur a lot of competition, and a lot of universities try to start catching up. And I do agree with your point that obviously if you're only giving it to 20, and if you look at the number of schools that we have,
competition will allow those colleges which were inefficient at that particular. Now these IITs and IIMs have reached that particular position. Why? Because of the things that they deliver. They give good things to their students, and that is why they have reached that particular position. So I think that these moves will allow the lower colleges to come to that position.
okay, so let's switch a little bit now into like technology that is being used and introduced in classrooms, right? How do you see the way education is going now? There was a recent article that basically said that there is a possibility that a teacher may be obsolete in some time, just because of the trend. Now we, like you said in the beginning, we are very much used to, and I'm a little older than all of you, so we're very much used to, when we were little, the traditional learning style where we all paid attention to a chalkboard, the teacher was in front, and that was it, right? That's all we could do. There was no concept, when I was younger at least, there was no concept of a cell phone until I hit like 7th standard. And that too, at that, it was so new that our cell phones used to be like these big block phones that we used to be too embarrassed to anyway have on our desk, right? Yeah, exactly. That was my first phone. So we are used to, I mean, at least all of us sitting on this table have been exposed to a classroom without any technology. And we've also at the same time been exposed to the introduction slowly of technology, where now it's very commonplace to, like, having a projector, having a smart board is a very basic classroom, right? It should at least have that. So one, I think, what are your personal experiences with it? And now referring back to this article of a teacher may become obsolete in the next 50, 60 years. Do you feel that that's the case with the introduction of things like virtual reality, augmented reality, where you have, like, you can even have a robot with a teacher's face going around and teaching people?
I won't refer to augmented reality because I've never really tried it, but the thing I'd like to say is that I'm doing online courses right now, and I do not think that I'm grasping like as much as I would in like a regular class. Let's say, for example, I'm doing a course on, let's say, online drafting right now, and just because my mom is a lawyer, all the doubts that I have in the course, I can ask my mom to solve them for me. I would, if that was in a classroom environment, then I wouldn't have to rely on someone. Let's say someone who wasn't coming from a legal background. They would have to find, let's say, someone from a legal background to answer all their queries. And over here, the portal, let's say, isn't as responsive as you want if you were to post a doubt, and not very clear when you want a doubt cleared as well. So that's why I'd prefer a class, like a classroom. Yeah, but online courses do provide a convenience to you and to classroom learning, because you can do it on your laptop at home at your convenience. But then there is something which is gained and which is lost.
Let's look at something like an online platform, right? Like EDX, Coursera, etc. There are many of them. Let's look at these classrooms and let's look at the accessibility factor for the country, right? Especially in rural areas. Now, as I said before, you can literally sit at home and get an entire degree, let alone a course, right? You can do an entire degree. Maybe let's talk about the government and schemes and what can be done in terms of implementation, that we're using things like online platforms that can help enhance the literacy rate of our country, accessibility to people that don't have it. What are your thoughts on that?
I would prefer a homogeneous mixture of both a teacher and the technology, because since once when I was in my 10th standard, there was a chapter, the nervous system. So my teacher, she was explaining things and it got into my head. But when she researched and when she goes through these movies, and there are YouTube videos on these particular small topics, she was able to explain better. She was able to denote things better, that there are these star-shaped bodies inside your head, and it gets better. And visual and visual memory is the best that sticks into your mind. So a mixture of both a teacher and technology would do good. At this moment, we are doing good. I mean, we are acing and we are doing everything
When you say we,
our.
you mean the government?
Yeah, the government. I mean, they are trying their best to reach out to people and explain why technology can be beneficial in all aspects. So at this particular moment, I really think that the government is doing good.
Even I think the government is doing good, because creating awareness about these schemes will help the teachers over there and the students as well. So obviously there are pros and cons about implementing technology over there, but then obviously the difference is according to the sites, some students might not understand what they have to deliver. So if a teacher goes to the sites and make it understand to the students will understand it much more better. If students have any doubts, they can clear it with the teacher. So that is the plus point. And if you're sitting at home and you're doing that course, I don't think that each and every person is smart enough to understand what the course has to deliver. Somebody will need someone to just guide that this is it, you have to do it like this, you have to do it like that. So yeah, for the time being, we are doing good.
I just believe in the future or now, there shouldn't be an over-reliance on technology. Let's say if a big projector or like a big let's say a big screen where you can write stuff on, which plays videos and stuff, the teacher shouldn't get complacent in doing her job and rely too much on the technology, because I've been in a situation where that has happened and it really isn't good for the student, because it's, let's say you won't be able to grasp, like I've said before, you won't be able to grasp. So over reliance on technology might get a bit, let's say, tentative on the teacher, but I don't think that they should encourage technology to such an extent so there'll be an over reliance.
Okay, cool. Good job, guys. Thank you.
NIJ is the way forward.